Just ahead on a special One Detroit American Black Journal Roadshow, we're in Detroit's Islandview neighborhood where the community is working together to revitalize this part of the city. We'll talk about new development and affordable housing, small businesses, jobs, and crime. I'm Stephen Henderson. One Detroit and American Black Journal on the road is coming up.
This program is brought to you by Chemical Bank, Detroit's hometown bank, and by
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund, W.K. Kellogg Foundation, Business Leaders for Michigan, Ford Motor Company Fund, and viewers like you.
Welcome to a special One Detroit American Black Journal Roadshow. I'm Stephen Henderson. We're coming to you from the Church of the Messiah on Detroit's Lower East Side in the area known as Islandview. One Detroit and our partners at Community Development Advocates of Detroit have held community conversations in this neighborhood over the past year. We've listened to the challenges, concerns, and successes of the people who live here. For the next hour, we're taking an in-depth look at how the Islandview Village has come together to create solutions. We're going to start with a tour of Islandview, where there's a lot of change that is really taking place. Church of the Messiah pastor Barry Randolph and youth director Terry Holston take us for a ride around the neighborhood.
We're about to go on a tour of Islandview, the greatest community in the city of Detroit. Terry Holston, our youth director, is going to be the driver and take us around so we can look and see all of the jewels of Islandview. Islandview has been around for a long time, and really somewhere around 1993 is when it really kind of began to get its traction. Islandview for a minute was a blank spot on the map of Detroit. So there was like downtown, Rivertown, blank spot, West Village, Indian Village, Berry Subdivision, you had all of that, you went out to the Grosse Pointes. Islandview's boundaries, according to the church, and I'm saying according to the church, our boundaries are a little bit different than what the cities say, but I figured we were here first. It's East Grand Boulevard and Jefferson to East Grand Boulevard and Mack, Mount Elliott and Lafayette to Lafayette and Baldwin. So East Grand Boulevard and Jefferson, right across from Belle Isle, is the gateway into Islandview that most people know about. And as we enter Islandview, going into Jefferson and the Boulevard, we will see that a major landmark that has been here for over 50 years, which was Big Boy, is now gone. Big Boy was purchased a couple years ago by the platform, and the platform is going to put between an 8 to 10-story apartment building right on the corner of East Grand Boulevard and Jefferson, right across from Belle Isle. You all know these are our properties, right? These were built in 1991. But all of this is Church of the Messiah Housing Corporation. Back in the 1980s, this was a little house on the prairie. I think there was only 2 houses on this block when we got started. We're turning on to Mount Elliott, and right here on the corner is an organization called Planet, where hydroponics is taking place. Kim Buffington, who heads this organization, is new to Islandview in the community. She's growing a lot of food there, and she's supplying the restaurants downtown. A lot of her employees are coming out of the neighborhood, so she is a major neighborhood stakeholder. Also, too, which is major to this neighborhood, is St. Bonaventure's Catholic Church, which we're coming up on right now. This is also where the Solanus Casey Center is. Father Solanus Casey, he did great things. Matter of fact, they're possibly looking to make him a saint. Out of this has come earthworks, Gleaners, the Capuchin Soup Kitchen. The Catholic Church is very active in this community and neighborhood. Something that's new to our community is the downtown boxing gym with Coach Kelly, which actually is a literacy program above all else. And we're on Townsend and St. Paul. This is English Village. A lot of people get it confused with East English Village, but it's English Village. These were built the year 2000, 2001, and when they first built those, they were going anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000. The interesting thing that I want to tell people too, everybody who moved in there is black. So it's not like Black people don't have any money. Black people are moving in with higher incomes and everything else too. So we had high end and we had the lower end, which we were doing affordable housing, and it worked. This is how we know that you can have a mixed income community. We're passing Genesis Hope. This is the other end of the neighborhood of our Islandview. As we come down Mack, we're coming up to the Commons, which was started by Mack Avenue Community Church. They have a laundromat, they have a coffee shop, they have a spot where organizations can actually meet. The building is absolutely beautiful. So as we show all of this, in the next few years, I'm quite sure a lot of this will look different. But this is our community and neighborhood. We're very proud of it, and we are really, really working towards making sure that our neighborhood remains an equitable neighborhood, where all people have an opportunity to be able to live here, whether you are the single mom raising her child, you may be a returning citizen, you may be an entrepreneur, there's room for you in Islandview. So we want to be able to show.
I'm joined now by Pastor Barry Randolph, the president of the platform, Dietrich Knorr, and the executive director of Genesis Hope, Janine Hatcher. Thanks to all of you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Pastor Barry, let's start with you. Talk about what's working in this church and in this community, and tell us why you think it's working.
Well, you asking that to a preacher. You know I believe in God, and with God all things are possible, so he get all the honor, praise, and glory. So we got to do that first, because without him, we wouldn't be here, and this community and neighborhood wouldn't be here. But Church of the Messiah is an amazing church. If you have not visited here, you're crazy. All I can say is the church
Where are you
does,
been, right?
right, exactly. It's almost like it's this major discovery that just needs to take place. So we are definitely a community church. We believe in looking out mostly for the least of these, but everybody is welcome. Here we make the impossible happen. We do everything from affordable housing, and we do employment, and we do entrepreneurship, and we believe that it starts with us. We don't look for the government to save us. We're not looking for big business or law enforcement. No, it's starting with the people of God. I always say Jesus took 12 men with attention deficit disorder and changed the world. So if he can take them, and if he can take one, denied him, doubted him, and betrayed him, but they all became great. So God can work with anybody. So those are the great things.
Talk about what was going on here when you got here, though, and sort of how you have progressed over that time to what we have now.
Well, I can tell you this much. I never wanted to be a preacher. That was never my thing. I didn't like preachers, and I didn't like church. And then God called me, and I'm like, you want me to do this? So, and immediately he let me know, yeah, I want you to do this. But I want you to do true church. I want you to do it right. This ain't about the preacher being at the top of the food chain and everybody else on the bottom. This is not about the preacher being served, but this is about the preacher being the servant, the one who stands up for the neighborhood and community, who stands up for what is right. When I came to Church of the Messiah, we had about 40 people, average age about 60, 65, and here we are. I was ordained in 2002, and here we are now with this very prosperous, moving church. Now, I can't take anything away from Messiah because it was great back then. It was just boring. I just came to add a little spice to it and to raise it up and go out and get the young people and do the part that I was supposed to do. But it was already a strong community when I came in. My job was just to help take it to the next level with the other people that was in the community and neighborhood.
Dietrich, the platform is investing pretty heavily in a number of different projects here in Islandview, but it's also deeply connected with this church and therefore deeply connected with the community. Tell me why that's important.
Well, it's interesting that I sit here on this panel because it's not likely that you would expect that. I moved to Detroit 6 years ago. Ended up settling with my family in Birmingham and really didn't do any work in Detroit until I received a letter from the Episcopal bishop in the mail. Not me, but the surrounding communities in their parishes received this letter, and the bishop said, well, if you have time, you should really go down to Church of the Messiah and check it out. And so in fact, we were just recalling it in Pentecost Sunday 2014. My wife and I came down here and sat in the pews and participated in the service, and that was really the beginning of this journey for me. So I'm really sitting next to my pastor because this is my church. I'm here every Sunday, and I've really grown to not only love and appreciate this community, but then also started to learn about, what's going on around us here. And that's really sort of leads then to, community development and ultimately to real estate development. So, the platform is a company that's focused on developing only in Detroit. We have missions that we pursue. We want to contribute to an inclusive resurgence in the city. And, those are all big words, equitable development, inclusive development. The next question is, well, what does that mean and how do you do it?
Can you talk about the ways in which this community is guiding that work through the church?
Absolutely. So, very much and Pastor Barry was already mentioning, all the work that the church is doing and how it influences the community through the Housing Corporation and then through Boulevard Harambe, which is our youth group organization. And you look at what all that does when it comes together, from housing to creating jobs to offering activities for children after school, and what does that do to the growing of a community, and then you intersect that with real estate needs and the need for more housing, for more affordable housing, for more livable housing, for retail amenities, and when you intersect those two, then you get to the point where you can think about community development and in some ways neighborhood revitalization. Now I would say that Islandview actually is, in comparison to many other neighborhoods in the city, I would say Islandview is really doing quite well. But nonetheless, you drive through the streets up and down and you can see that neighborhood revitalization is a topic that we should focus on.
Janine, this partnership between an investor and a community organization, you are insistent that this is the way it has to work, but it doesn't work that way in lots and lots of places in Detroit.
Yes, I believe ownership matters when your business model is people, place, and then profit. And no disrespect to for-profit business models, that's their business model. But as faith-based organizations, we typically, our motto is people first, then the place, and then profit.
Mm-hmm. And how do we get to the place where that's guiding more of what's happening in this city?
Well, affordable, or I should say low to moderate and affordable housing has to be built at the same rate that you build market rate within a community in order to not have displacement. To me, that's the only way it's possible.
Yeah.
If you're not building at the equal rate, something's going to give.
Yeah. Dietrich, do you worry about that model not being the model that you pursue, and maybe that what you're doing produces different outcomes?
Well, I agree. First of all, I think the focus is on people. I actually think that that's generally a shift in the development world, that we're focusing more on people today than we have in the past and less on places, and I think that in and of itself will lead to different solutions. We look at profit in two ways. Some call it the double bottom line. We look at the monetary profit and then call it the profit that's represented in the impact that we're having in the community. But the focus has to be on finding development solutions that are economically sustainable. I believe in that. Now I have a for-profit company, but I believe in that because I think in the long run that's sustainable. If we focus on the double bottom line, I believe that in the long run developers will do just fine, and really avoiding displacement is important in order to maintain the character of a community, a neighborhood, a street, And ultimately, that's where the value is, in the character. So I think we are aligned in the objective to avoid displacement so we can maintain the character of what we're creating.
Pastor Barry, go ahead, Janine.
The difference is for mission-based organizations, we hold them as low, moderate, and affordable forever. We typically don't, make our properties market rate units over time. And we typically hold them the longest than a for-profit, and that's statistically true in the long run. And so a lot of the developers that are coming in, their affordable rates are for less years, so like 10 years and things of that nature. So you have to look a little bit deeper than developers, and I'm not saying that's you, that developers, when they say that, how long are they talking about?
Right. How long can you maintain that?
Yes.
Pastor Barry, this is a show that's supposed to be about solutions. So I want to end with you talking about something that you're doing here in Islandview that you think can be picked up and taken to another part of Detroit and be a solution there. And then I want you to tell me what else you need. What's the thing that gets you to greater solutions than you have had before?
Well, one of the things that we created was a plan called DIVA, D-I-V-A, which is Detroit Islandview Village Alliance. It came out of us believing that we, of course, needed a community benefits agreement. When the city voted on a community benefits agreement and it failed, we thought that was extremely stupid. We were like, why would you vote on this? This is our community. We're rebuilding it. We're doing it. We don't need to vote. We need to galvanize. So we got the people together and we created DIVA. And what it does, it brings together the people in the community, it brings together the developers, and it put everybody at the same table. So we created the table. We got tired of going to everybody else's table. We created our own table. This is our neighborhood. We're doing the building. We're employing the people. We got people who have lived here for a long time, and they deserve a voice. So we gave them that voice by creating Islandview and creating DIVA. And when we did that, we put everybody on the same page. So we have kind of a declaration of interdependence, where there is an alliance where the developers come to the table and we agree on what's supposed to be done for the community and neighborhood. What most people don't know is our mission statement of DIVA is out of the Bible. Sorry, it was created as a church. I do not apologize for what we believe, but it's Isaiah 58:11, which says, "You will be known as the people who rebuilt the houses and who rebuilt the city and restored the ruined houses." And that's for the people of God to do. We believe it starts with us. And so we kind of built that. We brought everybody to the same table, and now we're getting our people hired. One of the great things that it did was we had a developer who came to our community and neighborhood, who's sitting in the audience, who is a great guy, who came to us and wanted to get a property. We helped him to get the property. We made an agreement. He would hire his people out the neighborhood. He did that. There was a senior who was already living in the property. She stayed there, so she got to stay. The project got redeveloped. People got hired. They got jobs, and it was an amazing project that we created. We worked with Judge Kelly Ramsey from the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. We got the people from the court, helped to give them a job, returned them to the community and neighborhood with a living wage. So that's how we created
So bringing people to that table, that's one thing. What do you need?
It's creating a table.
Yeah, creating the table.
Creating a table and then bringing the people in the community to the table that's created by the community, and then bringing the development and the government and big business, because we got to show them how to do it.
And then
Go ahead.
And then what's the thing you feel like you still need? What's the help you still need?
Well, one of the things is we have to make sure that the people who are coming to Detroit and the government of Detroit make sure that they respect the people who are already here. You have to remember that the people who left Detroit, and I say this, and I know it sounds simplistic, but to me, the cowards left. The tough people stayed. The tough people, they came, they stuck it out. They knew Detroit was valuable. They knew that it was worth something. They stood up when everybody else walked out the door. So those people who kept Detroit and made it be now this shining jewel that the whole world is coming to, first and foremost, we're not going anywhere. Secondly, we deserve the respect. And it is a thing that we have to do this together. But in my opinion, you come to Islandview, you asking permission. You cannot just come here and do anything you want to do. You ain't getting past us. It's not happening. Sorry.
All right. Thanks to all three of you for being here. We're going to talk a little more about that development now, a Macomb County developer who is renovating property right here in Islandview. In addition to rehabbing 4 units along East Grand Boulevard and providing affordable housing, he's also putting some neighborhood residents to work. One Detroit producers Bill Kubota and Will Glover have his story.
Sterling Heights, Macomb County, where home builder Joe Ventimiglia shows off his latest plans.
This is the elevation of the fourplex as we feel we're going to execute it.
He has been building high-end designer homes in the suburbs, but now he's focusing on Detroit's Islandview neighborhood.
Now, was that okay, guys?
I'll never build in the suburbs again. I'm 100% down to Detroit.
Ventimiglia and his partner Michael Coffendaffer found this rehab opportunity on Grand Boulevard, close to the bridge to Belle Isle. 4 units in a row, 3 of them unoccupied.
You can't see, but behind this sheetrock, I suggested that we build in like a low-slung bookcase.
The building was built originally in 1912. It was an absolutely spectacular architecture. The whole neighborhood loves the fact that it's not being torn down and it's being brought back.
The price tag? $300,000 a unit. The rising cost of housing in this low-income area has community leaders at the Church of the Messiah talking.
Actually, Islandview is one of those key strategic areas in the city for investment.
Assistant Pastor Wally Gilbert has a nearby friend hit by a rent increase.
So actually he's going to go from paying $600 and something,
Yeah.
with everything included, to a year later paying almost $15. This just happened.
Those investors who are betting that, the neighborhood is going to become the next, midtown, they're charging much higher rents than what this area had been known for.
Janine Hatcher of Genesis Hope watches the changes in Islandview, including the platform, a developer working on a couple of projects here. One will turn an old nursing home into retail and 40 to 50 housing units, half of them affordably priced thanks to subsidies. Construction is expected to start next spring. Hatcher wonders if there will be enough affordable housing to go around.
I think that this area will once again be a thriving community. I'm just not sure if folks who currently live here will still be here.
Lorraine Griffin is the lone occupant in the fourplex Joe Ventimiglia is renovating. She's been here 48 years. Her mother worked 3 jobs to buy it.
Oh, back then it was nice. It was nice. We had neighbors. Mama passed 3 years ago. She was 91. I don't see us going anywhere else. This is home.
It's been 14 years since anyone lived in the other units. Now, they're all hot properties.
I seen a car parked in front of the house, and then this guy jumps out. I said, oh, no. Here's another white guy trying to buy my house.
But Ventimiglia wanted Griffin to stay. He's giving her a new roof, new windows, and cement work. No strings, no charge.
He wasn't joking. He said, this is what I want to do. Do you agree with this? I said, yes, I do. And he went full forward.
A lot of society calls the rebirth of a neighborhood gentrification, where people that can't afford to live there are basically pushed out. And my feeling is we've created an opportunity of reverse gentrification.
Ventimiglia has hired and trained locals to finish these units and more properties he's acquired. People from Islandview, some who just happened by.
I rode past on my bike and I asked Joe for a job. And he said, when can you start? I said, as soon as I get back.
It's been easy for Mark Williams to get work painting on construction sites, but hard to find a real job opportunity.
It happens all the time, but not like this. You get a day or two, not a job. So this is a lot different. And it's connected up with some education. You know, it's to specialize. When I leave here, I will specialize in something besides painting. I sure will.
I get more experience over here, working professionals, trying to better myself, just learning more.
You don't only get to know these guys, you get to know everybody in the neighborhood. The restaurants, I mean, it's you come down here, you actually feel like you're part of the community.
You know, this is something that you can do all over the city. Instead of just sitting and waiting on somebody to let their property go or sell it, you know. Build around them, help build them up, you know, it helps everybody.
Griffin's unit, valued at $10,000, is about to be worth 30 times more. In time, she'll pass it on to her granddaughter. Ventimiglia thinks he's found a new model for development, the reverse gentrification, he calls it, where homeowners in attached properties can stay put if developers are willing to give up some of their bottom line.
It's a perfect example of how people should be allowed to stay within the community. We just have to find a creative way to accomplish it.
On One Detroit and on American Black Journal, we talk a lot about entrepreneurs in Detroit. We discovered there are several small business owners here in Islandview that are helping each other get started. Two are here tonight. Monique Sasser and her daughter Andrina are the owners of Nikki's Ginger Tea, which is produced right here in the church. I'm also joined by Pamela Lewis, director of the New Economy Initiative. Welcome to the Roadshow. Yeah, we're in your house, right? This is where you guys work.
Yes.
Talk about how you came to be producing this product, which people can find in stores all over Michigan right now, right here in the Church of the Messiah.
I fell in love with ginger 21 years ago. And it started from there. I became fascinated with its flavor. And I started experimenting with it and serving this concoction of ginger, lemon, limes, and honey to neighbors and friends. And then they started asking for it. And one of my friends said to me, if you sell it, we'll buy it.
And so a church is kind of an unusual place for that business to exist. Talk about how that works.
Well, Messiah has been wonderful. It's not your average church, and that's why we have been able to do so many wonderful things, like helping the youth, and we've received a lot of recognition for all the hard work that we do. We love what we do. We love our community, and I decided that I wanted to be the best of what my community had to offer. Single mom, and I wanted to be an asset to my community and raise my daughter.
Right. So you're working with your mom on this project and this business. Did you ever think it would get to be as big a deal as it is?
Yes.
You did.
So
no doubt there.
When I came back home from school in like 2009, Detroit was kind of a mess. You know, we didn't have street lights. It was just a lot of houses around us burning down, and a lot of the stores that we were in the late 90s was in early 2000s were closed. And so my mom was like, well, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You know, so much has happened. And so I was like, no, we can't. You know, this is our legacy. This is a way for us to be able to contribute to our community and to show our community that greatness can come out of it. So I got to work and I did a little research and I found what we needed to have to be a respected product when we went to approach higher grocery stores and buyers. And so I did that. I got us labels that really attracted buyers. I got us barcodes, and I worked really hard for a year to get us in the first Whole Foods store in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little more about how this business connects to this community, the people who live here?
So we were longtime Islandview livers. I still live in Islandview. And we have employed a lot of the youth. A lot of times, as I was coming up, and even now, young people will come down into the basements with their noses, smelling all of the ginger, and they'll need something to do, and we've never turned anyone away. We've also helped young people that have worked with our business go through college, make sure they had everything they needed for their dormitory rooms, and we've had 4 children that have worked with us from the time they were little to graduate from college.
Wow. So Pam, NEI is really focused on businesses like this across the city, identifying them, identifying their needs, and helping them to grow. One of the things I really love about NEI is that as much as it's focused on new people coming to the city who might want to start a business, it's really focused on folks who are here and already managing businesses and growing those businesses. That growth is really important to the city's comeback.
Yeah, I mean, NEI, Stephen calls it NEI, it's the New Economy Initiative, and basically it's an interesting play that has happened with philanthropy here in the city, and the investment that 13 foundations have put together to really make grants to organizations that are helping people like Monique and Andrina. And, you know, creating jobs are transformational things, right? But if you think about giving someone the opportunity to connect with a network that can help them not only create financial wealth for themselves, but create opportunities for other people, we think that's very special. And there's been programs like Build Institute or Prosperous or Detroit Development Fund. These are places that are helping business owners and entrepreneurs learn how to start a business. You know, the Community Business Enterprise Program that functions here, or the Osborne Business Alliance, helping entrepreneurs find a way to get what they need to do faster. Yeah. I mean, these two ladies, they're going to be successful anyway, right? But the work of these programs actually accelerates their success so that they can make those milestones much faster.
What are some of the things you hear from small businesses in Detroit that they need, that they have a hard time getting, and don't have resources to go to?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the programs we support are doing everything from providing capital to support to get into spaces. There's a lot of good work that Osborne Business Alliance and the DEGC and others have done to really understand what the needs of entrepreneurs are. Access to capital is the first and foremost, but money is not enough. The ability to activate spaces that are affordable and flexible. For a lot of existing business owners, even succession planning. You know, how do you prepare Andrina, you know, 10, 20, 15 years from now, and then your offspring, you know, if you have children, to take over that business. The other thing that you hear is starting a business is one thing, having the skills and the technical aptitude to operationalize that business is another. And so getting more resources to help them with that are some of the things that we're hearing.
I wonder if you guys thought much about how to grow and when to grow to get to where you are, or did it just come at you and you had to kind of field all of that opportunity and figure it out as you went? Both?
We got involved with the Osborne Business Association that has been phenomenal and a huge contributor to our growth over the last couple of years. I work really close with Cindy Cleveland, who is our business consultant, and she helps me put plans in place and gives me milestones and shows me how to make sure I accomplish goals and stay focused on what the goals are. And they were very instrumental in helping us win NEI. And we went after our NEI grant for a delivery truck that has allowed us to be able to expand hopefully to neighboring states soon, but we've gone as far as Grand Rapids to get our first Migrant account, so that's been major for us.
How important is it that you're still here, that the business is still right here in Islandview, right here in Church of the Messiah?
It's everything. It's everything. It is so important that we add to this community. This community really burned down in a lot of ways, and Messiah has always been that driving force to be keeping the neighborhood moving. And so to be a part of that, to have this business in this neighborhood that at one time was burning down, and to let my daughter see that greatness can come from those ashes is amazing.
And the shining moment for me was when they asked for us to give a billboard picture, and we said yes. And my granddaughter is 2 and 4 years old. We went over to, and as they looked up, they asked, "How did she get up there?"
It's on a billboard, right? Yeah.
And we're mad about it when it was gone.
What Nikki's referring to is the Any Idea Small Business Challenge. And so we highlighted a lot of the previous winners to showcase for more winners. In this community, there's some more entrepreneurs that have also benefited from a lot of the programs that philanthropy has supported. J&G Pallets is another one. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Sure.
They're not too far away, the D family, and now employing a couple of dozen people. And different types of entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs too, like Detroit Hives, that are making honey out of, beehives and producing that and teaching children in their community how to understand that ecology. And so you have these for-profit entrepreneurs that are creating products, those that are participating in manufacturing, and also those that are social enterprises right here in Islandview.
Right. I wonder if you could, and again, we're talking about solutions. If you were talking to someone who was starting a business, what's the one piece of advice you would give to them?
Be patient.
I would say never give up. You're going to hit a lot of roadblocks. And what I had to get comfortable myself with was hearing no. And it's like, why is that so hard for me? Why does no intimidate me? I've been told no my whole life. So what if I knock on the door and they say no, there's another door? And so you just got to keep pushing. You cannot give up. You really got to believe in your dream.
Congratulations, and thanks for being here.
And thanks for having us.
So here's a surprising stat. 60% of the congregation right here at the Church of the Messiah are African American men under the age of 30. Pastor Barry arranged for us to meet with some of these young men from the church so we could hear their very frank and personal stories. Here's One Detroit's Will Glover.
So the children are going to be leading us.
We're in the basement at the Church of Messiah for a meeting hosted by community development advocates of Detroit. One group was noticeably absent, the young men that make up 60% of Pastor Barry's congregation.
We have a lot of young black men in this church, a lot of young ones. On purpose, they are not in this room. They don't want to have a conversation with adults per se. They want to have their conversation among themselves because they always feel as though that somebody will attack them. Somebody will criticize them for having an opinion, and they don't want to do the back and forth. They want to get to the issues. They want to be part of the solutionaries, but they want to be heard and respected and validated for what it is they believe and how they feel without judgment.
We went back to Pastor Barry, who assured the cautious young men that they wouldn't be judged and could trust us with their story, with their voices.
You're doing stuff, you trying to do the right thing, and bad stuff still happening, Like, it'd be the equivalent of standing at, like, the bottom of a mountain, and everything you needed was at the top. You can't stay down here, and it's going to be hard as hell getting up there, but you got to do it.
I've never stayed in the house for a whole year, my whole life. Months, and then I'm moving with somebody else. I have no more grandmothers. They're gone. I have nowhere to go. My mom and dad, they're still together. They just got the kids sticking. I can't do nothing about it. Now I have 2 kids. I'm trying to figure out what I can do. He's the only one that's been blessing me and helping me, and Pastor Barry. I don't have nothing. I don't know. I'm very, very stressed out.
Like, I can be flipping some chicken, working. Then you see everybody in the lobby just run outside. Then you go like, what's going on? You see somebody just get shot up at the gas station. And it was the only reason I'm working there because that's the only job I could find. And it was like, ain't really no jobs in the city. So of course it's gonna be a job in like the roughest place. So I'm sticking it through there, but at the same time I see so much stuff that is changing my character and changing like my view of the world.
But it's clear these young men are acutely aware of their position in society. It's essential to navigating the realities of their daily lives.
Me personally, I don't really speak on what happens in the neighborhood, what happens in politics, school, anything, or religion, because at the end of the day, what does it really have to do with me if y'all still not putting no real food in my mouth, no real job, no money in my pockets? I still got to get out here and strive and slave and do whatever I got to do to make my next dollar, no matter if it's something legal or illegal, and that's sad.
The leaders, they're too out of touch. They don't really understand the real issues, and they're not proximate to the problems that people are really dealing with. And a lot of leaders don't want to be. And if you're not close to the problem, if you're not proximate to the issue that's going on, you're not really in a position to be able to change it or to really help and understand.
After our talk at the Church of Messiah, we spent a day with 24-year-old Dwight Roston. Today, he's making deliveries for Nikki's Ginger Tea, a company started in the basement of the Church of Messiah.
not only does the general American's voice not matter because it's just billionaires versus everybody else now, but on top of that, I'm black. So everybody else who is excluded out of the whole billionaire club, they still look at me like, you're not even in our club.
Right. Do you think that's part of the problem with like what the narrative of Detroit's comeback and all that type of stuff is?
It's not really inclusive. It's not even that, the whole gentrification thing, because I think that's just misunderstood. It's real, but you gotta look at it as what it is. It's not really people taking over, it's just people moving somewhere and building a bubble that only includes them. Right. That's what being a real Detroiter is about, honestly. It's about knowing that more than likely, everybody else who has a job that their job is supposed to represent you, they're probably gonna not do that job. And you still have to do your job on top of that.
You said you have 3 daughters? So how do you feel when you're thinking about their future in the city? What do you hope for? What are you afraid of?
I definitely hope that they grow up in a place where opportunity is just abundant, because me just experiencing what I experienced growing up and just trying to get jobs, trying to find resources to do things that you're interested in, trying to find programs, anything like that. It's always just extremely scarce, or it's a financial issue. I never want them to not chase a dream or to not, go for a goal or something like that because it's too expensive or that because it's just not available.
When you have a system set up like the way we have here in the United States that sends kids to school for 12 years for a ridiculous amount of hours trained to become factory workers, they don't learn to value themselves. They don't learn to value what they do. And at that point, they don't learn to value what other people do because those people don't value what they do. This is created because of these lack of resources, because of this lack of incentive to go out there and do things. Kids want to improve their lives. I don't know a single person that doesn't want to actively make something better than what they have.
Despite their challenges, they still hold out hope. At what point on this mountain are you now?
Metaphorically speaking, there are several mountains, The whole racial mountain, I don't think we'll ever get to the top of that. As far as the mountain for my parenthood thing, I'm pretty much on top of that. And then business and everything else is in between. But it's not necessarily the mountain it's not making it to the top of the mountain. It's the person you become as you're growing up the mountain, which is really important because nobody lives on top of a mountain. You still got to come back down sometimes.
Here with us now is a young man from the Church of Messiah, Dwight Roston. Also joining me are 3rd Circuit Court Judge Kelly Ramsey and Detroit Police Captain Kyra Joy Hope. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Dwight, I want to start with you. We saw you in the film there talking about your membership here in the church and the things that it's done for you. But a couple of years ago, you had a really interesting idea for a program that you thought would make the relationships between young black men and the police in this city a little better. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So the program is called the LEAP program. It wasn't called that when it was the idea. But it really came from, I was on the side of the church cleaning up some trash by the bus stop. Some police rode past and they were both white. And they looked at me and there's this immediate tension. And something was just like, wave at him and see what he does. And I waved at him and he just froze. Like nobody had waved at him all day or whatever. But it let me know that there's a disconnect that we don't look at each other as people. As African Americans, we don't necessarily look at police officers as people. And some police officers don't look at African Americans as people. So that on top of, social media, all of the videos, that were being shared of people being killed by police officers, most of them not going to jail, and, riots and different things like that. Me and my cousins and Pastor Barry got together and pretty much in the effort to be like, or to say, we don't want this to happen here. And what do we have to do to make sure that this does not happen here? So the idea we had was to take young black men and police officers and have them do something together for young people.
And yeah, go ahead. And I really wonder what it would have been like if you had been standing on the side of the church and waved at a police officer and had all of these thoughts about this and you hadn't been connected to this church. I mean, I feel like the church is the way that you get to turn that into something that reaches lots of other people in the city and maybe makes a difference. I think it's a really interesting example of the role that the church is playing in this community.
Yeah, I think the role that Church of Messiah plays in Islandview is the role that every church should play in every community. It gave us, it gave me a voice. It gave me a place to where I knew I could go walk right in here with this idea and that something would be either done about it or that the wheels would start turning to see some change and some opportunity to just, change the status quo, if you will. So if it wasn't here, it'd just be another household conversation, where we complain about what's going on, or we complain about how things are, but we don't actually get up and do something to change it.
Judge Ramsey, in your courtroom, sometimes you are trying to find ways to reach people beyond what the criminal justice system requires you to do. And Church of the Messiah has sort of come into your purview as one of those ways. Can you talk about how that works?
Certainly. And, obviously I have a position in the community to administer justice both to victims and the individuals who stand in front of me. But I also believe that my job expands to include more than incarcerating an individual. And I try my very best to convince those individuals who stand in front of me that they have more talent and more ability than they can possibly imagine. And that with hard work and determination, that they too could choose a different lifestyle. But when I say that, I have to give them the opportunity. And I have been blessed with knowing Pastor Barry Randolph for a number of years now. I consider him a friend of mine. So I pass out handouts to individuals who appear before me, and I pass out a felon-friendly job list. And at the bottom of that felon-friendly job list, I explain that I am referring my probationers to a friend of mine, Barry Randolph, and I write this address down. And most of the individuals who come to see me, if not the majority of the individuals who come to see me, need the services that are offered here, whether they be employment services, housing services, or basic life services that many of them don't know how to accomplish on their own, whether it's getting a driver's license or state identification. Things like that are necessary for employment, resume writing skills. And it's not a court order. And I simply say,
if you want it, it's there.
If you want it, it's here. But I do require most individuals who are on probation to the court to seek and obtain and maintain legal employment. And then I offer them the list and the opportunity to come here for the employment services that are offered here, the housing services that are offered here. A gentleman returned to see me with tears in his eyes and said, I've never filled out an application before. And regardless of what position they're in, when they come to see me or they stand in front of me, Pastor Randolph can take them from whatever level that they're at and bring them forward to be in a position to seek the employment that I believe is helpful in keeping an individual from returning to the life of crime. I'd like to take a brief moment, if I may, and thank developer Joe, who has employed more than a couple handfuls of individuals who answer to me.
Who came through your courtroom.
Who
right?
came through my courtroom.
So it's working. It's working.
It's more than working.
Yeah.
It's more than working. And Father came in a couple months ago with tears in his eyes that his son came here, The father came with his son, met Pastor Randolph. Joe happened to be on premise, I believe, at the time, as the story goes, and basically took one look at the young man and said, "I'll see you tomorrow morning." And they left here, came into the courtroom with tears in their eyes to tell me, "Thank you for getting my son a job."
Wow, wow.
So it's been a wonderful opportunity.
So, Captain Hope, the LEAP program that Dwight thought up is one way that that the police department interacts with the young people here in the church. I wonder if it's inspired a different approach, maybe in other places as well. Is this moving the needle, I guess, in terms of police relationships with young black men?
Absolutely. And I think it's very, very courageous for everyone to meet. And I believe that the best thing that we can ever have is really community trust and communication. And to meet someone right where they are and have that transparent conversation, to actually look into this young man's eyes and truly say, hold me accountable. But what is it that you need? Because every community is different.
So how unusual for you is that in your career as a police officer that you even get the opportunity to ask that question and ask it in the presence of somebody like Dwight?
Well, I make it my business, actually, to place myself amongst the youth and our community. Pastor Barry has brought everybody together in such a way, I can't even really describe it. But once I met him, I was part of the team, and I support every initiative that Pastor Barry and the Church of Messiah has. I stand behind the men and women of this church and this beautiful community that we're in. We cannot do it by ourselves with the police department. This is truly a community effort, not just with our residents, but inclusive of our business partnerships as well.
Dwight, I wonder what you have seen since LEAP started in terms of improvement in the way that you interact with police. Now, when you wave at the cops, do they act like they never seen you before?
Well, it depends what cop I'm waving at.
Right.
But there is a sort of mission, to get out of the car, in a way, because you see a lot of police officers ride around, different things. But in the summertime, you have police officers walking around the neighborhood, visiting the basketball courts, even riding their bikes, doing things that, as people who live in the tension of, being black and, dealing with police officers who may or may not be black, there is this calming effect when you see them doing something that isn't like patrol and control. Like I had said to Captain Hope, we don't look at you guys as real people sometimes. I met a cop who could break dance, and I was like, cops can't break dance. But it's bringing everything down to we're humans. We're all people, and they're not cops 24/7. They go home, they have families, they have things that they like and things that they dislike. So if we can meet each other at that moment, as opposed to meeting each other, in uniform or out of uniform, then it's a lot easier transition.
It's a lot safer too, right?
Definitely.
I also want you to talk a little about the fact that you have 3 little girls who are growing up in this church and in all of this environment. I imagine in 10 years you're going to have your hands full.
Yes.
Yes. But how important is that? And what do you think they're getting from the things that they see, not just on Sunday here, but all of the things that are going on in this church?
Something that's extremely important to me is that not only are they successful women, but they have a love for their people, and they have a love for the community that they were raised in. When they first of all, they see me get up and go to work every day. Even they complain about it, like, "Oh, Daddy, you can skip work today." But it's to let them know that life isn't necessarily all about having fun, And sometimes when you're successful, your success should trickle down to somebody else, and it should become an opportunity, or you should mentor someone who was in the position that you were in, because the opportunities that we have coming to this church are blessings. They're not just opportunities, because we know other neighborhoods, there are like 4,000 churches in the city of Detroit, and there's only one Church of the Messiah. So for them to have this church as their home, for them to have the role models that they do, to see the things happening, to see us go from sitting at a table talking about something to there it is being built, is powerful. And I hope that it makes them better people as far as when they grow up and what they want to do. And I also want them to, if the opportunity does not exist, create it. If not for yourself, for somebody else.
Wow, what a great sentiment. Okay, well, thanks to all three of you for being here with us on the show.
Thank you for having us.
So that's going to do it for this special One Detroit American Black Journal Roadshow. Thanks for joining us. We're going to continue to bring you more stories from Islandview and from other communities throughout the year. Our thanks to Pastor Barry Randolph and the Church of the Messiah, and of course to our wonderful audience members. Find us online and on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time. That was wonderful.
This program is brought to you by Chemical Bank, Detroit's hometown bank, and by
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund, W.K. Kellogg Foundation, Business Leaders for Michigan, Ford Motor Company Fund, and viewers like you.